Hello people of YouTube, my name is Tom. I am a commercial filmmaker based in Norway, but from the Netherlands, and I've been involved in filmmaking in one way or another for about 10 years now. From the very start though, I've had a tendency to think that the body of the camera tends to be a bit more important than the lenses that you work with, but that mindset has shifted a bit. The set of lenses you're working with can completely elevate or utterly degrade the film you're working on. And the way I see it, there's three categories of lens for us to pick from: modern photography lenses, vintage photography lenses, and especially for us video makers, cine lenses. For the longest time, I have used a combination of modern and vintage photography lenses, but recently I have switched to a line of cine glass. The lenses I've picked up are SLR Magics. So, why cine lenses? Fujifilm has some utterly spectacular lenses in its lineup that would fit my X-T4 perfectly. So does Sigma, so does Tokina. There are a bunch of lenses out there that are objectively, optically better. And like I said, there's also vintage lenses, which are usually cheap and easily available. They're small, most of them are very much built to last, and they have heaps and tons of character to them. By character, I basically just mean distortion, flare, glare, vignetting, unsharpness, low contrast. Stuff in a lens that gives footage some sort of flavor. And while I'm interrupting anyway, might as well ask you to leave a like and subscribe and click the bell icon. Anyway, back to the lenses. So firstly, build quality. Cine lenses tend to be built like brick shit houses. They are all metal and glass, and that makes them feel super durable and reliable. A key example of that is the focus mechanism. I have here a Canon EOS 70D with a modern photography lens on it, and as you can see, the focus ring turns indefinitely. It's electronic, terrible for predictability and repeatability in filmmaking. On a cine lens, everything's mechanical and linear, predictable, and you get a nice hard stop. With photography lenses, the distance indicators are marked on the top of the lens. Very easy to glance over the camera and see how far away your focus is. On a cine lens, focus distance markers are printed on the side, which is to the benefit of a dedicated focus puller. Cine lenses also have teeth on the focus ring, the aperture ring, and if you have a zoom cine lens, also usually on the zoom ring. This is great when you're rigging out your camera in one way or another, notably with gimbals. We at Bigger Feet use a Zhiyun crane with two remote controllable cogs. You can just pull focus and change the aperture by twiddling the wheel on the side of the handle. My SLR Magics in particular are really good for gimbals because their weight distribution across the whole range of lenses is very similar, so that when you switch out a lens, you don't have to do a lot of rebalancing. I've already briefly touched on optics, but I want to delve slightly deeper into that. Modern photography lenses tend to aim for some sort of perfection. That sharpness and perfection can be utterly brilliant, but for cinematography, it can make your footage feel a bit sterile and clinical and empty. Vintage lenses, on the other end of the spectrum, have heaps of, say it with me, character. And that is just because they couldn't manufacture better, more precise optics at the time these lenses were created. So in a vintage lens, you can have a lot of softness and unsharpness, and then even if the center of the frame is sharp, the corners are still a blurry mess. They can be great, don't get me wrong. If you want something to feel like the 1960s, there's no better way to do it than just using a lens from the 1960s. But that brings us back to contemporary cine lenses, which always seem to aim between vintage photography lenses and contemporary photography lenses. They are sharp and contrasty enough to not get in your way. They have a little bit of vignetting, but not overbearingly so. They do flare and glare, but it's not too much. And for some reason, cine lenses really focus a lot on getting smooth and creamy and round bokeh, which is pleasant to look at and not distracting from your subject. The last point I want to make, which is not technical at all, but kind of psychological. Having equipment that looks impressive makes you as the user look professional, whether you want it to or not. I've had a surprising amount of people already comment that they look big or weird or interesting or cool. And so they're notable and memorable, which in the everlasting search for clients and work is a good asset to have. So that's why I've picked up a line of cine lenses. The next video will be about my SLR Magics in particular in a bit more detail. And then the next one after that will be comparing vintage photography lenses and cine lenses. That's gonna do it for me. If you want to check out mine and George and Katie's work on biggerfeet.com, you can. That is biggerfeet.com, bigger F-E-A-T. and I will see you in the next video. Ciao!